Namaste, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Joining me on with Dawna. I'm glad that you're here. The energies are really crazy right now, as with the full moon coming up on the 23rd in 2 days on Friday. And Aquarius are friendships and group settings, all of that kind of stuff. And so you're going to really, which is the 11th house in your chart and of astrology. And you might feel tired and irritable because that's coming up on Friday and it is going to throw chips. And you might be more irritable. It might point out more what is not working in relationships that you have. Energies are really huge right now. I know we've had solar are always very, very powerful. It's in the sign of Aquarius, which is unconventional, right? So we need to change that. And is the forward thinker, the air sign, and it covers the 11th networking, all of that kind of stuff. So just be mindful. You might be more irritable. You might feel more of this intense energy on Friday. So, and also be mindful about your relationships, and maybe as things come up. So I'm a naturopath a few years ago, and we instantly, while I was living in Boise, she's over in Boise, and just a really cool person. We had conversations about spirituality, all sorts of stuff. And so I thought it would be really fun to have her share her story with all of you. So without further ado, Miss Victoria.
Hi, Dawna. Thanks for having me on.
Victoria.
Hi.
Sure.
Yes, happy to be.
I was just talking about the energies with the full moon. They're pretty strong and intense, and they're going to be really shining a spotlight on relationships and network. That's our relationship network, and those connections, and people feel a little bit more irritable, tired, which is an irritating feeling, right?
Yes.
So we met. We met at naturopath's office.
Yes.
Did some IVs for me when I was sick, and amazing clinic that Victoria, about your journey to medical into a more holistic up to your heart, what happened with your family. That if you
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, Dawna, you keep looking at me. Hopefully mine is coming okay. I tried to log on my phone and it wouldn't let me log on there. So, but yeah, we'll just do the best we can. Maybe we're getting some effects of this intense full moon energy, huh? With the technology. But yeah.
well, there've been
Oh, right. There's been the, yeah. So yeah, thank you for that great introduction. And it's no secret, that I share with everyone just how meeting you has completely changed my life and the trajectory of my life and everything. And going back to maybe even my childhood, I remember being 9 years old and helping my mom while she was pregnant to actually mix her insulin. And she would give herself, shots because she had to do that while she was pregnant. And, and even at 9 years old, really caring for my little brother who was, eventually my mom had him and was a newborn and an infant and whatnot. And, as a 9-year-old, I'm sure I didn't, have a lot of awareness at that point, but there was something even subconscious or unconscious that was saying to me, what is health? How do we go down a path of health? And, fast forward to me, graduating and serving our country in the Navy and whatnot. And then I started thinking, well, what am I going to do? Right. I'm a very empathic, feeling kind of person. And, how do I serve? How do I help people? And so a lot of times people go to the medical sciences, and I had a lot of signs that I felt was unfolding, a lot of synchronicities and whatnot that was pointing me towards nursing. And so, I started going that path. And interestingly enough, though, even backing up to when I was growing up, I didn't necessarily have the knowledge or the conscious connection, but if I had, let's say, like a headache, I would never reach immediately for the pill. I would think, gosh, maybe I can take a nap. Do I need to drink some water? Am I hungry? That type of thing. So it's kind of interesting that I did have that awareness a little bit growing up, although I probably couldn't make the conscious connections. And then fast forward, I end up going into nursing, right? Which is, as people tend to do, we go into it because we have a big heart and we want to help people, and we think that's the path to do that, right? And again, I just want to preface that with saying that I think all the the healthcare workers and medical workers, they're amazing, amazing, amazing. They have big hearts, and by and large, they're doing what they've been trained to do and what they feel is going to help.
very
But just through that path, I was in a hospital for many years, and I was managing pain a lot and giving a lot of medication, and probably doing it very, since we're talking spirituality here, doing it very like asleep or unconscious. And I loved my patients. I loved them. And, I think that's what got me through and kept propelling me forward, was just that intimate relationship with them, right? And caring for them and being in service. And then I started very, very healthy, but I hit a point in my life in 13 where I started to have, my body was giving me some feedback. And I was like, I have to look at this. And somebody actually mentioned, well, how about you read this book? And are you still there? For me? It looks like we lost on for a minute. We are dealing with some technical difficulties.
For you to tell your story.
Oh, did you disappear for a second, Hun, or is it on my end?
Oh. No, I did it on purpose.
Oh, I can't see you anymore.
Because we seem to have,
I feel so alone. Okay. What was that, Hun?
Yeah, I did it on purpose because I was trying to give us for you to tell your story, but I'm just going to take my video off so that I can hear you better.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if it's on my end what it is. Yeah, so I was just talking about a friend had recommended, and I, pretty much kind of just laying around on the couch in pain, and had never had any issues before. And I thought, well, what do I have to lose, right? So I start to read this book, and it was certainly one of the initial things that entered me into really opening up to exploring the mind, body, spirit connection, right? Connected. And, then that opened up other things for me. I was able to actually completely, really heal myself without any surgery, very little medication beginning, just until I could, do the work that I needed to do mentally, spiritually, energetically. And then fasted a little bit, and I had a little bit of a reoccurrence of it, which looking back on the energetics of it, I can see why that is. But a friend recommended that I start working with a homeopath. And so I started working with a homeopath, and then, he opened me up to a lot of other things, just as far as, the body and the spirit, and just the connection with our physical well-being and our mental and our spiritual wellness. And it was just interesting how that unfolded, because at that time I was no longer working in the hospital. I was in a clinic, and I was actually managing and checking and dosing blood thinners and giving some nutritional information and whatnot. And I just started just having all these awakenings and all these awarenesses, and realizing that that wasn't where I was supposed to be anymore. That I felt, just for my awakening and my knowledge and my approach to health and wellness, or what I was coming into, that wasn't where I was supposed to be anymore. And that I felt, actually at that time, for me personally, that I was being part of the problem. And that's when I stepped away initially from Western medicine. And it's just interesting to look back on it, having more awareness, more experience now, because I always had a personal paradigm of, understanding, well, at least looking to the emotional aspects, or not stepping straight to medication or surgery, whatnot. But then I stepped into a profession that was completely built on pharmaceuticals and surgery and whatnot. So, and, took a little bit of a break, ended up aligning with the naturopath that was the office where I met you, and did that for a little while. Opened up a whole new world for me, just as far as homeostasis and inflammation and all of that. And then did temporarily return to the allopathic side for about a year, while in my own business. And then 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, I was able to retire completely from nursing and be 100% in the field of helping people to get to the root of the problem, instead of just putting a Band-Aid on it and managing symptoms and whatnot. So, I mean, in a nutshell, that's my story.
Speaking of, sorry.
There you are.
I don't know if it's my internet connection or what, but it's so yeah, that
I know
that
it is my site too.
Yes. it's an incredible journey. And, I know that you lost your little brother. And
right. I didn't even, thank you for, I didn't really touch on that. Yeah. So gosh, there's so much to all of our stories. I think all of us should write a book.
I know.
Yes, I did. You're right. I did skip over that part because that was actually before I got into the medical field and in nursing. When I was 25, I had my father pass away, and he had just turned 69. So, I mean, by and large, fairly young. He had not really made the best of choices, and maybe that was from an education standpoint as well. He passed from prostate cancer, and then 3 weeks later, very much unrelated, well, not related to my dad, but related still to health and wellness and pharmaceuticals and all of that, my little brother, who was 16, passed away. And then, kind of fast forward some years down the line from that, I guess it would have been, 8 or so years, my mom passed, and she had just turned 63 or 4, I believe. So very, very young. Again, just maybe lack of education or whatever it was, dealing with her own stuff. She passed from lung cancer. And she had a bunch of health issues, comorbidities. I mentioned her in the beginning with having to, take the insulin. So as you can see, I've been given the tremendous gift of contrast, both personally and professionally. So, we all experience things in life, and I started to. The contrast really helped me to ask those deeper questions of what is health, what is wellness, is it more than just the physical? How does the physical play into it? How does the mental, the spiritual, all of that? Because we're these spiritual beings having a physical experience. So, but the truth of it is that while we're here walking around in these meat suits, right? It's like this is what we're experiencing this life in. This is our physical vehicle that we're experiencing life in. And so while nobody's perfect, right? We're all kind of looking for that not. The better that your vehicle performs, and it's nice, it looks good too. That we're gonna have a better experience. And even blowing that out to the collective, and just being of service when we are performing at our best, and that's going to change, right? That's going to change from time to time. Then we're better able to be of service and to better serve the collective. So,
absolutely, really well said. And it's also all those traumas that you experience and into your young adult life, dealing with those, facing those, and healing those is what then empowers us and everyone to then have more to give and more to share to help others. And like you said, everybody should write a book, because everybody can be a teacher for somebody else. Everybody guiding light for somebody else on how they some trauma, some something that changed them forever, that they didn't expect happen in their life, that you could view it as a negative, but really it was a catalyst for putting on the path that they're supposed to be on. And we came here to physical bodies to evolve as souls, spirits, to learn whatever lessons that we wanted to learn. And so as a result, we had traumas. It's like going into the fire, being that metal that gets tempered. You have to put it in the fire to be able to mold it. And I love like Garth Brooks' songs for unanswered prayers, because that's for ourselves. But we don't always. So
no.
But I think you had parent ill, and I told you about my father having heart issues and many heart attacks and all of that kind of stuff. And I think both of us, because of having parents that health issues, it kind of made us more sensitive or more aware of health.
Yes.
And want to pay more attention, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so,
When you
I know that you shared one of the things that you realized when you were working at the hospital in Western medicine was you felt a glorified drug dealer.
Yes. Yep. I felt like I was it's kind of a crass way to put it, you know, and again, I want to be very clear that, you know, I think very highly of the majority of the healthcare workers, right? But
oh, absolutely, me too. I appreciate them, all that they do. I'm grateful that they're there, that they go to work and you know, are right now themselves facing this pandemic, so on. You know, I commend them for still going to work, wanting to serve and wanting to help. Absolutely. It's not that.
Absolutely.
It's not people that work in here.
It's the system. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a system. But yes, it, you know, when I really got to the foundation of it, I realized that for me, I felt that I was a legalized drug dealer. I mean, I was given drugs all day, every day, and doing it legally, right? Because I have a license and all of that. So, but it was interesting in particular being on a med surg floor for all those years, because I did that as a nurse apprentice while I was going through school as well. And so I got to see it for many years. And, you know, as tends to happen, you see somebody come in and, you know, I really got to see the bigger picture of where being caught in that system was really heartbreaking. I mean, there's so much suffering, just a lot of suffering. And you would see that typically they weren't necessarily improving. You know, they would come in one time and they would be on one medication, or maybe they'd have to have a certain surgery, whatever. And everybody was a little bit different, but I got a very unique perspective of seeing some of these people kind of more long-term, you know, over the years, and seeing them continue to come back. And, you know, so that was another part of my awakening as well, was like, wow, is this really helping anybody? Like, are people getting better, or are we just actually in some ways making it worse, or just putting Band-Aids on it and not getting to the root of the issue? So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Which is partly why you went a more holistic approach. That's partly what drew you there, because naturopaths, holistic doctors or practitioners, to try to find the root and just treat the symptom.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting to see that contrast of a patient would come in, and the allopathic model is completely physical, right? What's going on with Victoria's, you know, gallbladder, what's, you know, so it can bring some value in some way in some of those tests, but, you know, it never looks at, well, you know, how much water is Victoria drinking? Like, is she exercising? Does she meditate? Does she, you know, all of those things that absolutely, you know, I know now is you just can't not look at those things. And I'm super grateful that I was open enough to, you know, because unfortunately what we do often see people that are highly educated, and a lot of times in the sciences as well, that they just really can't think outside of that paradigm. And again, we're all here for our own purpose and journey, and everyone has their place. But I'm very, very grateful that I was, you know, that I was open to seeing outside of that I was open to seeing really the big picture.
Absolutely. Yes. I agree. I agree. And yeah, I've had this book from Louise Hay for a while, and I forget about it half the time. And recently I went back to it because of things that are going on. I just wanted to kind of see what the mental cause was, the emotional or a physical thing. And it's
Yes.
her Feel Your Body A to Z. And in it, she talks about, well, if you have some, for instance, if you have some skin issue like psoriasis or eczema or something, it's protect your individuality, a sense of origin. Your your thought pattern needs to be that you're safe to be you. And
Yes.
what I loved about when I met you, and we were talking along the Carlfeld, who you're the Carlfeld Center there in Boise, he was like, because I had bronchitis. I knew I had bronchitis. I'd had it once before. I knew what it felt like. I knew antibiotics, and I knew it could be taken care of without it.
Right.
And he said, "You have grief going on. Like, how did you know that?" Because I had
Yes.
2 dogs within 5 weeks of each other. So, yes, massive grief. I love dogs. Knows me. My dogs are like my babies. I love them. And one had for 13 years. And the other one, she was only 5 and she got cancer and died really quickly, So but I thought that was fascinating that this natural was correlating emotions with what was the I was expressing, that my body was expressing that this, and that's about lungs. That is about grief, and so it's fascinating to
it is, yes,
to be able to talk to minded people like you and Dr. Crawford about, well, if somebody's having this, then they got this sort of emotion going on. And when I went back to school for holistic health and nutrition, they talked about this. It was like a wheel, looking at all the different areas of one's life. Because in talking to somebody, and you've seen the same thing in working with different people in the public that want to get healthier, and they come to you about health, true health, and things that people can do to improve the quality of their lives. Sometimes people don't want to, and if they are stuck in a job they hate, if they are stuck in a married relationship that they're miserable in, or if they're in a family dynamic that is toxic, they're not going to be able to lose that weight, or they're not going to really improve whatever condition is going on, because it's the whole package. It's the whole thing. It's the whole way of life.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love that you shared that. What a great reminder. When I had shared the story that back in 2013, I started having some physical things manifest. And I'm trying to think of what my thought process was prior to that. But when this colleague of mine told me about this book, and the doctor actually has written three different books, and he kind of started addressing like back pain and nerve pain and that kind of stuff, and then he really blew it out to encompass like pretty much all chronic disease and unwellness and imbalance. And when I started looking at it from a psychosocial, emotional, mental, energetic perspective, which I didn't until I started reading that book and I started looking at all of that, a lot like what you mentioned, I mean, it became very easy to pinpoint why my body was having the physical symptoms that it was having, why it was not in balance. There was something that was not in balance. And so we know, you and I know, we talk about this all the time, that our body's always giving us this feedback. Sometimes we listen, sometimes we don't. Just exactly like you said, sometimes maybe we don't want to deal with that emotion, or we don't want to do the work that it's going to take to peel away that layer of the onion. But yeah, looking back to that time in my life, I mean, I was in the anniversary month-wise of my mom and dad and my little brother's passing. Mm-hmm. I had just ended an engagement. I was working full-time, going to school full-time. Things were pretty crazy at work, which that was kind of always the case at the hospital. And, just looking back, I had tremendous stress, which, we all have stress, but yeah, just looking back on that, I could see, okay, this makes sense. My body is saying, hey, you need to look at this and deal with this. And so in the book, he gave some actually very direct ways to do that. And he talked a lot about the unconscious and the subconscious and the conscious and all of that. And, just kind of working through. So I'm trying to think if it was after. It's interesting you bring up grief, because, anybody who has known my story, they're like, yeah, girl, you need like a grief remedy, right? You've lost 3 immediate family members and, all of that, which is actually why I started working at homeopath. And, it just kind of went from there. But yeah, I know when I tell people I totally I healed myself. I cured myself, with no surgery, essentially no medication. And they're like, you did what? So yeah, it's like we always say, our bodies are the miracle, right? And
they are. Our body,
yeah.
Our bodies can heal from anything if we give it the right environment. Yeah. But that includes our mental health as well, our mental, emotional, as well as we have to leave, we have to want. And, sometimes I think people battling, whether it's cancer or some other terminal illness, I think sometimes they get tired of being here. It is a struggle. Earth is not, it can be a magical place, magical moments, absolutely. And as we awaken and remember who we are part of the divine and magical beings that can easily manifest anything. But if we get in density, if we get stuck in the 3D world with the pain and fear that is especially trying to be out there to control now, in my opinion, this is just my opinion.
Yes.
But as people get that, I understand why they give up, because there's not that hope, there's not that feeling that they can break through this. Things are going to be so much better. And people should not have to suffer as much as they're suffering. And I know you and I have both been on missions to try to add into the fact that there are alternative things out there. And one of the things is just drinking a living water that makes your body full of antioxidants.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Because it changed both of our lives and countless And so, when you're out there talking with people, I know you get the resistance like I do from people of, but it's water, how can it do for me? But people don't think about all things they put in their body and what those do or don't do for the body, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you and I we've had a lot of great conversations around how water is largely taken for granted. I mean, we just turn on the faucets there, and we live in a country where I will say that I'm very, we're very blessed for that. We don't have to walk miles and miles to, you know, get water that may not even really be clean. But it's, you know, we know that water has consciousness, and
Yes, we do.
that we're water beings. I mean, depending on, you know, maybe our body composition, we're 2/3 to 3/4 water. So, yeah, I know you and I are both on a mission, as well as all the people we're connected with, to really help people. I actually would rather say invite people to really take a look at, like you talked about, that wheel, right? I mean, if we're looking at a piece of a pie and we're splitting it into parts, you know, what are the different parts that make up wellness, mind, body, and spirit? And absolutely, nutrition's important. Although, really, what we need to be talking about first is water. You know, it goes. Keep disappearing on me, Dawna. Not sure if your connection was lost again. But what I was saying was that you really just have to look at the pathophysiology of it, in that we can go, you know, just take it back to the basics, right? I would say number one is the air we breathe, right? Although a lot of people don't even realize that without the molecule of water, we can't even process what we're breathing in. And then next to that, you know, we can only go a couple days without water. We can go several days without, we can go a while without food. I wouldn't want to, but I mean, we could. So I mean, really, water is the one nutrient that people are the most deficient in.
Exactly.
But yeah, you know, just trusting and praying that those people that are open to hearing this, and maybe open to seeing a different perspective, will be brought to us, and that we will connect with those that we're supposed to, you know, connect with. And again, just planting those seeds, because there'll be people that are resistant. Oh, water's just water. Okay, well, go get a cup out of the toilet and take a drink of that. Tell me that water's just water. But again, you know, it's just meeting people where they're at, and really just loving on people and caring about people. And, you know, and I'm sure this even shows up in our lives as well in some way, if we dig deep enough. You know, when you were talking about the emotional aspect of unwellness and disease and imbalance, you know, some people are very tied to whatever that emotion is, or whatever the emotion is that's causing that illness, right? And they really don't, they've allowed it to become part of their identity, and they really don't want to release it, or maybe they're not ready yet. You know, maybe they will be, when maybe they never will, but that's okay. That's their path. So
yeah, it's their journey. And yes, I agree. Some people let their illness or whatever it is that they're dealing with become their identity, and they're so afraid of what their life will be like without it, that even you know, I know women in abusive relationships, and certainly one of them, have, the average goes back to abuser back 7 times and they break away. And it's because the known, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's miserable, even if it's painful, it's known. The unknown is scarier than staying known. And Sheree and Karen about it being the victim triangle, you know, where you have the victim, abuser, rescuer, and we do that to ourselves, we do that to other people, we allow other people to do it. And trying to lift above that, because you can't just stop that triangle, you have to lift. And trying to lift, which is what, you know, you and I both have worked very hard on ourselves for, getting to that teacher healer point. Not that we stay there, we go back to the victim triangle, because we are so conditioned, society so conditioned for that, that, you know, it's a constant trying to remind ourselves that we want to lift and be a mentor, teacher, healer, and that victim consciousness. But some people don't want to, and that's, Sheree and Kira call it, the people that are sleep and just make them comfortable, because you can't do somebody else's work for them, and you can't, if somebody's not ready to get healthy,
Right.
or to improve the quality of their life, or to lift off the victim, that they're not going to, or how much information you give them, or how much love. The best thing you can do is just offer somebody love and compassion, and prayer does, getting positive thoughts and vibes really do people. And yeah, I love that you mentioned how water has consciousness. If you know Veda Austin's work, she has taken Dr. Emoto's further, and she just booked, and she's got lots and lots of pictures about with water, and it's mind-blowing what she's doing. So it's Veda, VED. So check her out. She's in Australia, and she's doing incredible work with communicating with water and realizing it does have a consciousness and is at the point to communicate back to it. And then the other thing I wanted to mention about is the waters.org. If you haven't heard about them, they are an organization. It started by a couple of brilliant women that live actually in Ecuador, that go into villages and take filters for them to get drinking water, because so many of these women were to travel to go get water to bring back for their kids, and so on, and so they have enough to grow fresh fruits and vegetables. A lot of times they were getting attacked, raped, brutalized along the way, because many times they would have to do it at night after they put their kids to bed, or they'd have their kids with them, and they're traumatized seeing their mom, get brutalized. And so this organization is doing so much good, and it does not take a lot of money for them. So I highly recommend to please go check that out. Oh, you see my wheel behind me. It's the Shield of Zodkiel, and I have these laminated, the smaller size, that will mail out to anyone that wants one. And I've mailed out several since I started this project. This is actually Shrink Cure. Want to see this with everyone that wants one. So I made up of them, and I will mail them out for free, hand them out, give them away to anybody that wants one. So if you do want one, if you don't have one, please send me at Dawna, DAWNA, the number 4, the word fitness.com. And I will, with your email, or with your address, so I can drop it in the mail for you. That is my gift to you. And it's just powerful shield, and it's really cool to look at. I can just feel the power reading off. And Zodkiel, Archangel Zodkiel, comes through Kira, and Shri talks to him. But he has just provided so much insightful information and helpful information for awakening, and what ascension symptoms are, and how to process through and continue to evolve. And if you're not joining them for Monday Magic, they're going through the I Am discourses from Saint Germain right now, and they are so powerful. Thursday nights they're doing the Navigating the Inner Matrix, going within, just which is incredibly powerful. And for me, it's a perfect timing to do this forgiveness practice again, as I get into a whole new life. And I'm so excited about everything to come. So Victoria, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, if they want to know more about the water that you were talking about this water that hydrates you better, and that is high antioxidant, how could people?
Well, they can reach out to me either through my email, which is the number one, Victoria Lawson, VICTORIALAWSON @gmail. And they can also feel free to check out my amazing, amazing website. And that is waterofgrace.com. So WATROF Grace, GRACE.com.
Awesome. Wonderful. And Victoria in Boise. So if you get out in that, definitely look her up, connect with her. She's an incredible, knowledgeable, and has definitely been through a lot that she's been able to improve her health and many, many other people's, all naturally. And it just, it's beautiful, like-minded people that want to truly serve other people and help other people suffer less and improve the quality. And I know that's where your heart and soul are connected so well. And I'm excited to get to see her in just under 2 months.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited to come and get to hang out. So before we go, we're just about out of time. Is there anything else that you would like to tell people? What else would you like to leave with them?
Wow, I feel like you've already kind of said it all as far as a final message. I mean, it just comes, like you said, it just comes back down to like loving on people, just
having that compassion.
I mean, we're all navigating this time of great division, and like you mentioned as well, because we're having this human experience, there's times when we're more aware and awake and ascended, and then there's times that we're maybe not, right? And
Right.
so I just, this gal, I think this will be a great final message. So a friend of mine who there's those people that you spend time with, and this is you, absolutely, Dawna, that you walk away from, whether it be a brief or a longer interaction, and you feel more expanded, more awakened, more all of those good things, higher vibration. And I've had a few conversations with this gal, and I was even telling her the other day, I'm certain if we were to dig into it, there are several things that we don't align on, right? Like whatever, politics, religion, all those sticky subjects, right? However, I know there are 10 to 20 other things that we do align on, right? So I would just pray this for myself, for you, for everybody listening, that we can do our best to be awake and aware and intentional to focus more on those things, right? The things because we are so much more alike than we are different. So,
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And just
exactly. What you put your focus on, you get more of. So if you go looking for differences in people, if you go looking for faults, if you go looking for something to complain about, you're going to see that, and that is going to consume you. Yeah. But if you go looking for instead the positive things, let's look for and champion in other people, that we applaud, that we can celebrate, that we can encourage, that we are aligned, that we can, join together on. So, well, thank you. It was so fun to have you on, and thank you, everyone.
I just adore you. Thank you for
internet
having me.
Was okay. But be mindful, especially might be more irritable for people, and have more patience, and just be mindful of that, and as well as with yourself. Give that love and compassion to yourself, because you matter and you are valuable and you deserve your love above anyone else. So I am sending everyone much love and light, and I hope a wonderful rest of the weekend, and I will see you all next week. Thank you so much thank you for watching this in the recording. whenever you showed up, thank you. It was, I appreciate it. Love and light to everyone. Thank you. Namaste.
Love you.